All right, it's official. We're going live. All right, I'm seeing folks join in now. Welcome, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and get things kicked off here with our biweekly presentation of our product roadmap. So welcome. My name is Eric Wolmerink. I am one of the product managers over here at Decisions. I'm joined by a couple of my colleagues who are also product managers, Kirsten and Josh, who are going to be here to help me answer questions or make sure I don't miss anything in the Q&A panel. But you unfortunately get me presenting today, going through our roughly next 12 to 18 month product roadmap. So yeah, like I said, I'm Eric. This is something we haven't done in a while, so I'm going to give a little kind of context as what we're doing here. This product roadmap presentation is us as a product management team presenting out our roadmap to any of our customers or prospective customers or partners, just to give you an idea of what's coming down the pipeline for our tool over the next couple releases, but more importantly, over the next 12 to 18 months. It's also an opportunity for you to kind of provide feedback and chat with us. So if you have any questions as we're going or want to dive deeper into any of these topics or features that I'm going to be presenting, please feel free to post about it in either the question and answer panel in Zoom or in the webinar chat. And we'll be sure to answer those either as we go, or I've tried to allocate about 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes at the end of the presentation purely dedicated to question and answers. So if you have anything you'd like to ask, we can answer those there.
No.
So like I said, we're going to be doing this every other week. So in 2 weeks, we'll be presenting it again, and 2 weeks after that, indefinitely. So if you want to share this with your coworkers, share this with anyone else who you think would be interested in visiting or seeing our roadmap, we're more than happy to go ahead and provide that link for you so you can check in any of the other calls we have and ask us questions, or we can send you the recording of this where you can watch this at your own leisure. So that is what we're going to be doing. And I saw the first comment saying joining from a long flight. I'm so sorry for your flight, 13 hours. I've been on that flight or a flight similar length. Hang in there, and I'm sure I'll try to entertain you for like 10 minutes. I'm not sure I can give more than that, but I'll do my best. So without further ado, please feel free to ask questions. I'm just going to go ahead and dive into our roadmap presentation. I'm going to start this as we do a lot of our own internal calls, which is talking about why do we exist as a product team and what is our mission to our customers and to our partners. And it's the same goal we've had since day one when I started 11 years ago to when Carl and Heath founded the company to where we're here, which is we want to give our customers an opportunity to solve problems using your intelligence and all the modern automation techniques so that you can really provide real world business value to your company and your organization. And we do that through our low code platform, right? That's the whole goal, is that we want to continue to provide you with a suite of tools and techniques and features that really empower you as a citizen developer, as someone who can go in and solve your business problems. So that's the goal. Every feature that you're going to see in this presentation, everything we do is to help improve the developer velocity experience or scale a project to grow bigger or to reduce cost for your organization, things that are really going to empower you to do things your way. And since I haven't done these in a while, let's cover a little bit of recent history, at least the past couple years. All of 2024, starting from March when we released it, into this year, has been focused on version 9. Version 9 is one of our big leaps in the way that we organize and categorize our entire folder tree. And so that year was spent really nailing down the projects system and the projects architecture. So if you haven't heard, version 9, what it does is it takes your big unmanageable folder tree that exists on the left-hand side with crazy webs of dependencies and kind of a Wild West format of just put things where you want, and really gives concrete siloed workplaces of information that have good, clear organization, have great reporting and visibility, have the ability to then package and deploy a lot easier. And bundled with that, version 9 has been really geared towards the designer and developer experience. How do we make sure that the people who are using our tool all day, every day, get the easy to use benefit and value out of all the things that we're releasing? So that was all of last year, and of course, bleeding into this year. This year, as we're already into almost the end of Q1, holy cow, we're really focused on this deployment server idea. Deployment server, as we've talked about it in the past, has evolved into something even bigger and greater. And I'm going to talk a lot about that later in the presentation, but it's this idea that our tool, Decisions, is going to also be the easy way that you can take developer-centric work and deploy it across any number of spheres and environments seamlessly, rapidly, with automated approvals and testing cycles built in, and then with dynamic scaling to save you the kind of cost and pricing situations that arise when you come to hosting these sorts of projects. So that's 2025, and again, that bleeds out into the future as well. But again, kind of looking a little more recently, what have we been doing the past couple of releases? Quite a bit, actually. And a few of these things, actually, I'm going to switch over to a Decisions install and just show you really quick. But over the past, we've been on this about every 4 to 6 week release. So every month, we're roughly giving a release with a series of kind of bug fixes, but also a lot of new features. In January, we had 9.6, which really kind of focused on some integration pieces, right? Being able to have better control of your Redis queue or IBM messaging queues, being able to integrate better with Mongo. We've added a number of things there that kind of honed in and focused on integration, as well as some ways that we actually handle performance and caching from within the project architecture. So in previous versions, caching was system-wide. We now can hone in and define cache like memory storage per project and get a lot better control over the kind of performance project to project within one environment. So that was a lot on 9.6. 9.7 released in February also did a couple of integration things, but one really important one I'm going to hone in on. The other, one thing I'm going to hone in on is Dart. We have a chatbot. We've had a chatbot in Decisions a couple versions now, so many years, which really just connected you directly to chat. And that was it. If it was off hours or we had slow response times, it's because a physical human couldn't run to their laptop fast enough to respond. We've now fully embraced and integrated the AI kind of chatbot methodology, while also including the human element of being able to just talk to a person if you need to. But Dart is now in Decisions. It's Dart is our tool, is our name of our chatbot. And it's built right in to give you insights and information and links. And I'm going to actually demo that in just a minute. But really cool, we've added that straight into our chat for the product, where you can do that just as you're building and developing. But a couple things as well, you'll notice some visual updates. The way that you can search in the toolbox and actually see and filter results has been improved. And then we've been working a lot on this health score idea, both in the Flow Designer, but also in the other designers. As you can see, it kind of blends into 9.7 and 9.8 releases. We're adding Health Score to be kind of an anchor your developers and product managers can rely on, or project managers can rely on, to really ensure the quality of what you're building is up to standard, is up to our best practices. And then what we're releasing, what we've released in March, or hoping to release in the next day or two, which is 9.8, advanced things like the health scores, and better integration tooling with GraphQL, REST calls and capabilities. And the one thing we're really excited about is actually proactive support. And this is something that's going to be combining, again, our human kind of learnings and how we help provide architecture and support with automated insights and AI kind of driven best practices and improvement rules. But what we've done is we've given you the ability to receive suggestions from our support team and from our automated system directly in the designers as you're building. So as you're building in the Decisions platform, you're going to be able to see, hey, we suggest that you modify your flow because we see that there's a bunch of steps that are inefficient or ineffective when used it this way. So we suggest you do this, right? That ability for us to help proactively give you support and suggestions and advice means that you don't have to wait till there's an issue for us to reactively respond. And this is a big turning point for us because we want to make sure that as you're building in the platform, you really have the tools at hand to make sure you're building the right way, the most efficient way, without having to go back and redo a bunch of work or wait for a bunch of load tests to run. We want it, at the time you're developing. So that's a huge, huge win for us. I do want to demo a couple of these things. Oops, sorry, wrong screen. I don't want to waste too much time on any of this, but I do want to talk a little bit about some of the features we have here. First and foremost, Dart, you can see it this is version 9, one of the latest versions of 9. This is 9.7. So if you see a couple visual differences, that's potentially why. But Dart's actually implemented, I believe, even in the version 8 chat as well, just with a different visual UI piece here. But as you come in, you're going to notice that the first thing you have is you now have this assistant, Dart chatbot where you can start talking and asking it questions. And there's some, suggestions out of the box like, hey, I'm in a project. It actually knows where I am and says, how do I do some of these things? So I can click and say, how do I create a new project? It's going to go do its thing and connect up to our chatbot and do some research. And it's going to provide me an answer that says, hey, this is where you can navigate in the portal to go do that thing. And then this is the link of the documentation where you can go ahead and get that information. If I just make this a touch bigger, we can see this a little bit easier, right? It's going to give me step-by-step instructions and a document link of how to do those sorts of things. But I can ask it anything. I want to send an email in a flow. What step can I use? Question mark. And it's going to go look, it's going to take all the learning that we've given it based off of our support traffic and our documentation site. And it's actually going to find me the proper recommendation, which says, hey, there's a step called send email. You can search for it here. Here's the properties of the step we recommend. And of course, here's a documentation link if you'd like to read some more. You can even ask it capability questions. Can I, use single sign on provider, I guess, yeah, to log into decisions. And then I could follow it up with, where would I go configure that? Where can I find it? And it's going to do the same sort of thing. So it's a trained bot. It's going to just give you a lot faster information and response on what you're doing in the platform. So boom, here we go. It says, yes, you can use SSO. We have SAML OpenID Active Directory. It even gave me the providers we support. And it goes right there. And then if you ever do want to talk to a human, it's as simple as just saying, can I talk to a human? I think this is the right way to answer it. But anyway, if you're not getting the answers you need, would you like to connect support representative? I can say yes. And it's going to switch from the chatbot straight to our chat support so that there's no problem here. I just pinged someone in our company. And that makes me happy that I'm wasting their time. But that's that you could still get the human element support there. I'm going to let them know, whoever gets this. I am just demoing. This is Eric. All right, just so that they can know not to stress about support. So chatbot, super cool in the platform, good to go. The other thing I want to demo super quick is you may have already noticed that you can see these big percentages already listed on the designer folder. Like I said, we're trying to really expose health as an idea so that as you're building, you have really good confidence in the thing that you're building. And one thing we've done is that in all of our designers, we've started to apply best practices in an active health score, right? So I can come in here and see that this are the criteria that we've defined out of the box using kind of our automated insights that say, hey, we know that by following these practices, you typically have a more healthy flow. And one thing you'll notice that as I start to build and do things within the workflow, say I drag a couple steps and I connect them up here, you'll notice that if I save my flow right now, I've actually lost 6% of my health. And if I ever want to know why that health score has dropped 6%, well, I can open up this and see that it's because I don't have a description on my flow. I haven't applied any error handling. I'm not running any unit tests. My step names are generically named, right? Like a bunch of things that when you're building workflows and building processes out, you really want good, deep control over. And so now if I make a few changes to this, right? So if I come in and give this a good description, a good detailed description of my flow and its purpose. Here is a rec doc. Here are some other words. I can see quickly that as I close that, my health score jumps back up to an 84%. If I rename this from fetch entities to, get all accounts, I can see it jumped another 1%, right? So there's live feedback of being able to quickly see health scores and practices around what's going on is really important. You'll also see up here, like I could see any errors. We've moved the validations up to the top header bar as well. Ooh, who's replying to me? Oh, Levi. Yeah, he's replying to me. So yeah, live support still there. So support, health score in your flows and in your designers. This works for flows and rules now. I believe it's already in forms as well, but being able to see that and quickly see all of your health scores is a big win. And then the last thing I want to show you is for anyone who's built UI in our platform, we're finally taking a step back and really evaluating from the ground up what makes a good UI building experience. And I'm going to tip my hat, I guess metaphorically, because I don't want to take off my headset, to Kirsten, who's on the call, who's been leading the charge in making sure that we really are caring about the customers that have to build UI in our platform. And so we started with some really simple quality of life fixes that are seemingly simple, but have required some work, which is like drag and drop resize, right? If I wanted to make my text box bigger, for anyone who remembers previous versions, there's a little arrow and I had to click the arrow, 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 and it would finally resize to the whole screen. Now I can just simply, oh, if I can grab the right node because I'm on a small screen, I can just drag and drop and resize my controls, right? I can do that across columns. I can do that across headers. I can make it smaller here. And now being able to just quickly resize and drag and drop controls on top of them and not have them get all wonky, and then resize this here and extend it across. Just your general UI building experience with this feature alone drastically improved. And not to let the cat out of the bag too much, there's a lot more coming with form and UI design. We're rebuilding the designers from the ground up, including things like Flexbox, which is the ability for you to properly dynamically resize a form given screen real estate. So that's all coming. We're going to demo that in a future webinar. So that's my little teaser to say, hey, you have to keep coming back because that's we're going to be doing that. Oh, and by doing all those things, I destroyed my form health. So I'd have to come back in here and see why, but that'll be for another day. Anyway, a couple little features just to kind of tease. If you want any more information on any of the versions through 9 that we've released, through 9.8 that we've releasing, check out our documentation site, just documentation.decisions.com, and you'll be able to go in and see all of the release notes that we have there and everything that's happening. So. All right, so new kind of recent stuff aside, let's actually look at kind of the next 12 months specifically. And then I'm going to dive a lot deeper into those 12 months to give you a really clear idea of the features that we're targeting and things that we want to move in on moving quickly. I split this part into 3 sort of separate areas. This is kind of a product management discipline we have of what we know that's essential versus what is oh my gosh, I'm going to lose my words right now. Essential versus what is protective versus what is differentiated, right? So essential being we've got to have it. It fundamentally operates our product. It's the same thing all of our competitors have, but how are we innovating and making sure we're staying in the space? Protected being, hey, these are things that make decisions great within the space. So how do we actually make sure that we're still a strong player? So not just what we need to run, but what we need to do. And then of course, differentiated being what makes us unique. Why are we different? And so this is kind of what we're targeting as areas of improvement to make sure that we fit into those 3 bands. So number 1, essential. A lot of this is around what we do now that we want to do better, what we want to do well. This includes things like getting better check-in enhancements so that as you're committing work from one environment to another, that it's a lot easier to filter, a lot easier to view those items and move them forward. And there's things like getting better telemetry, right? So that as we give you those suggestions, we're actually continuing to improve and enhance on those so that the suggestions you get aren't the same and stale, that they're constantly evolving. But it even involves something like transactional data types. This is something I've talked about personally for a long time that we're actually targeting on the roadmap for part of our next major deployment release, which is making sure that your data structures are not these hard-coded compiled files that then have to be re-triggered upon every deployment itself, right? That rather your data types become live run pieces of code that are just consistent across multiple environments, so that we're not triggering some .NET compile to wait for them to run. Rather, they're just kind of live migrated with your projects and live run as your data structure. A little technical, but the idea being is that we do a lot with types and decisions with the information that we're passing back and forth, and we just want to make sure that that's rock solid, that whenever you're moving things from one environment to another, that we remove the concern that anything changes across those environments. Now, looking a little bit forward into the if my slides will switch, protective sector of things that we're doing. And this is like what I just talked about, adding GraphQL and OAuth inbound. These are things that some of our competitors maybe do, but we can be a lot stronger in. And that's a lot of our integrations. This is a lot of our ability to be kind of a hub or an orchestration engine for all of your other systems. So this is things like drastically improving our designer experience. Oops, sorry, my headset's yelling at me. I have to plug it in. Anyway, drastically improving our designer experience where you can go in and see those health scores or have better access to tools while you're building workflows and building your forms, et cetera. It's also things like going in and doing a proper pipelining for your deployment so that you can say, hey, I need to move things from one environment to another, but I want to make that as part of a standardized automated process. Some of our competitors do it, some of them don't. We want to do it best. So we're going to be working on a lot of these things. And then a lot of modeling work you'll see over the next 12 months as well, like the ability to create ERD models or import an ERD model to have that generate structures and case entities within decisions. That's a lot of stuff we're going to be doing as well to kind of also seamlessly fit into bigger enterprise level software development practices, right? And then the last thing here, differentiated, what's going to make us different? Proactive support rather than reactive. That's a huge differentiator, something we haven't seen any of our other competitors do. Being able to actually move all of our work into proper containers for deployment. That's a huge architecture undertaking we're going to be doing in the next couple of years, and I'm going to talk about being able to optimize those things so that they run a lot smaller so that our hosting costs for those are cheaper than our competitors. Those are the sorts of things we're targeting here. And like I said, if you have any questions, I'm not going to dive into every single line item on this presentation. So if you see something that's super interesting, again, please post it in the chat or the Q&A panel, and I'm happy to address it either now or at the end of the Q&A session. So yeah, kind of some major features that we're targeting. And then to zoom out even a little bit bigger, what does this look like for the next couple of years? Well, this year, 2025, as I've already mentioned, is deployment. Now, deployment is going to encapsulate all of your moving from one environment to another. So taking things out of dev, putting it into a test environment, running a suite of automated tests, running manual unit tests, and then deploying that to prod. All of the kind of back and forth that can occur there to communicate with developers that something's issue. All of that is our deployment server. And so and first version is focusing really on the user experience of deployment server, and then the next major iteration on that is going to be focusing on the container kind of management of this piece, right? So you can create and destroy those environments from a centralized hub, connecting to your cloud infrastructure seamlessly. So being able to test a new version of decisions becomes simple, becomes very meaningless is not the word I'm looking for, but really rudimentary, right? Like you can go in and say, clone my dev environment and put it on the latest version of decisions, and we can create that environment side by side at no cost and just have that run side by side, sharing resources and destroy it when you're done. That level of infrastructure management is the next major goal of our platform, and that's going to be version 10. But then just a number of things that we're going to be doing throughout the year. The designer refresh kind of encapsulates everything I've been mentioning as it comes to the drag and drop resize for forms, the kind of flow UI, Dart is in there, but making sure that our developers are taken care of is something that's really near and dear to us. We're going to be focusing on that. Caring for system admins, that's a huge undertaking we've been doing. We've essentially gone through every single item in the system folder and updated it and made sure it's in the proper place, made sure it has good dashboarding and visibility. We've added some new reports and capabilities there. But caring for people who actually have to manage these environments, we're putting some work and effort into there as well. And yeah, a lot of other cool things that are kind of going on there. Pausing, no questions. All right, we're going to keep going. 2026. So what's after that? Continuing to iterate on kind of this container infrastructure thing. This is where we're going to start then doing your transactional data types, having your environments just be able to automatically consume updates so that it's a proper, SaaS or software as a service. SaaS. That's the other way around. SaaS. No, SaaS. Wow, I'm getting lost. Anyway, just so that we're a proper software tool, you can prescribe to automatic updates. We'll update your environments for you, really clear reporting on that, automated testing of your stuff. All of that's coming, right? Like all of that's going to be next year, where we really overhaul this idea that you're going to take your projects and those are going to be your deployable pieces into your infrastructures and easy to report on and see and scale and those sorts of things. But then we're also going to be working a lot on how we kind of improve the starting point, the starting block for any new project. So getting a lot more solutions in the product where you can go in and start from a really well built out of the box project that then you configure. We're working on this idea that a lot of things you can do in decisions should be configurable, not built from scratch. It's built from scratchable. Man, my grammar is just, we're gonna have to destroy this recording. Sorry, everyone. But the idea that you need to work on configuring items and making it tuned to your experience rather than building things over and over again is a big key shift for us and something that we're going to be focusing on. Some of the things you see here coming in 2026. And then if we look, yeah, again, this bleeds into 2027. What does that mean for the future? Simplifying stuff, right? Like being able to create rule sets not as these big monolithic folder structures of complicated rules, but simplifying that whole experience. So the reusability and kind of rerunability of all these rules to run. And we're talking millions of rules in batch is exactly what we're going to be targeting and doing things for. Taking that a step further and kind of how we rule tree out rules and kind of cascade logic down into single runnable bits of code. That's what we're targeting to just improve performance and scalability and those sorts of things. You'll see it here targeted again, less development, more configurable, right? We want to be able to just give you something, you pull some levers on and it works right away, rather than saying, well, hey, let's go build this out of the box and you can do it any way you want. We want both, right? Like, I know we're not supposed to have our cake and eat it too, but that's the goal. Our goal is to actually do both, right? You can build it from scratch. You can build anything. We love that kind of heritage and history of our tool. But also, we wanted just to be able to very quickly turn stuff on and have it give you value right away. Both can be true. We see a world where that comes to fruition. So. Whew, that was a lot of talking. I forgot this whole presentation is me rambling at a screen for 30, 45 minutes. So apologies to everyone, but I'm just gonna keep plugging along for the next 10 or 20 minutes, and then we'll pause for questions. But so what does this mean actually? Like, how does this actually translate to what you can expect over the next couple months and 12 months or 18 months? Well, what it's going to mean is we're going to target three of those key areas, grouping all of those features I just rambled about into three really key areas. Number one, health and integrations. We want to make it easy for you to understand that you have confidence in the work that you're building, that it's healthy, that as it's running, you're getting clear reports and statistics and information about the execution of your processes and flows. All of that's around targeting the health. And then, of course, integrations is tied to that. Like, integrations is key to decisions working well. It's part of our DNA. And that's so we're going to continue to make sure that we integrate with the latest technologies, that the technologies we already integrate with are updated to the latest standards, and that we support all of that as you're building things out. Dev velocity, yeah, you've seen that sprinkled through the whole thing, everything I've talked about, giving you tools in the designer, giving you more configurable designs. All of that's about streamlining the ability for developers to develop. One thing that's really been stuck in the product management kind of philosophy as we've been working through our roadmap is we want to do less. Like developers should develop is really the phrase that I've been using, right? We want developers to care about the process and the nuance between it, and you want to spend time making sure your rules are really narrowed down. You shouldn't be spending time, rebuilding the same line 100 times in your workflow designer. And so a lot of these things that for developer velocity are going to be around letting you work on the problems and then let the tool solve all the automation. And that's the goal that we're driving for. And of course, deployment being a much bigger idea than originally stated. It's not just taking work from one environment to another. It's really controlling the entire ecosystem of how decisions fits into your enterprise and the scalability and control and version control and deployability of all of it. And so that's what deployment winds up meaning. Whew. All right, big scary chart. It's a lot less scary than you think. But this is kind of what the next through the next year looks like as far as which features are coming when. And so again, this is a great opportunity. Take a look at the screen. I'm also happy to send this presentation to anyone. So as another call out here, if you would like to just look at this presentation on your own, because it's a lot of information to consume at once, just email either Eric at decisions.com or better product management at decisions.com. That distribution list will come to all of us, and we're happy to give you a copy of this presentation. But looking forward, what does this look like? We imagine a world where the early versions of deployment server, really a lot of the kind of developer centric deployment features like checking in and committing things up and having automated tests run, releases middle of this year, July, August, September. So Q3 of this year, toward the latter half of this year. That's really focusing on kind of the repository or kind of the back and forth communication of work across multiple environments. That's going to be version 10, maybe. Don't quote me on this. We're terrible at naming things, as many of you. I see a lot of names on this list of people who've been here a while. Sorry, we're still bad at naming things, but version 10 is going to be this idea that it's going to involve both deployment of your work, your projects, and you'll see at the end of Q4, bleeding into October, November, and all the way through next year, actually controlling your environments and architecture. So that's all of that encompasses V10, but the first versions of that, you're going to start seeing some beta announcements and some requests as early as May, and with a targeted kind of initial version 1 MVP release in the summer, and then fully released by the end of the year with targeting this environment manager as well. So this is our big major focus deployment. You could see some of the things we're doing in kind of the light greenish box there, right? Developer check-ins, excuse me, being able to allocate work to user stories or change tasks and requests, being able to then integrate that and deploy those easily across all of your environments, and then being able to start managing like deployments themselves as a centralized location rather than this idea that you have to go to production and pull down the latest work. It's having a hub where you can say, hey, my maintenance window is Friday at 5, schedule this project to deploy at 5, and then report back to me all the automated unit tests. And if there's a 80%, if there's less than 80% pass rate, roll back, right? Scheduling and having that as part of your CI/CD configuration is what we will be releasing, right? So then your ability to schedule these deployments, push them to environments, automate the tests and report back is what you're going to see there. And then towards the end of the year and into next year, right? Stateless deployments, right? Being able to then take your projects and pare them down even further so that the actual execution of them is lighter and lighter. That's a cost saving benefit for them. And then having what we're calling scratch instances or ad hoc instances, which is that upgrade mentality, right? If you just want to then clone and copy a version into a new, scratch instance to play with, easy to do in the new world, right? If you want to take a clone of your production because you're going to run a whole series of load tests for some new business pipeline you're spinning up, great, very easy for us to do. You will need to run a hot fix, but you don't want to touch your current dev, sprint cycle you're working on. Create an ad hoc dev instance, make your hot fix, and commit it up, right? That level of standard kind of business software development practices, we're going to do with our environments so that it's really simple and easy for you to control and manage what's going on. So that's deployment. That's the big major focus. Dev velocity, yes, I've talked a lot about this, but again, just to kind of give you some timelines to this. We're working on the first, what you've already seen from what I've demoed and working into Q2, better rule designer and flow designer kind of refresh things, being able to do the UI stuff. The UI stuff, I actually should slide this box over to probably May or June, given that we've accelerated the development of this. But getting all of our UI designers to have, drag and drop, Flexbox capabilities to then be able to simply build one form that resizes appropriately for mobile versus large desktops. That's taking what we have now as 3 separate designers, pages, forms, and simple forms, and combining them all into one kind of unified UI building experience. So that's coming. One thing that's also pretty cool that I haven't talked much about is production data enrichment. We want to really be able to source all of your production insights that you get from process mining or you get from running flows in a real world environment and give that context to a developer so that we can enrich the developer experience with those production insights, right? How cool would it be to be able to be when you're building a flow to test it with production or production like data? We can do that if we just connect those servers together and allow, with very clear, guidelines and boxes, allow for developers to do things like being able to just sample from production to run unit tests on dev. That's a really easy win. And that's something that we want to be able to do by enriching the developer experience or the development experience with production data, insight, and data. And then, yeah, a bunch of stuff coming in there. I did get a question from William, and I love it. I would normally wait for the Q&A, but I want to address it now. Are we really getting shadow testing in Q4? And the answer is yes. It's shadow testing and deployment server. They're going to be, even though we have them separated on this chart, it's all part of the same child, so to speak. Maybe that's a terrible metaphor, but yes, shadow testing, the ability for you to be able to properly deploy like a rule change into a testing pipeline for manual testing, for unit testing, for load testing, and for shadow testing is all part of a brand new test harness that we're building for deployment server. And so, yes, it's going to require us to have the ability to connect to shadow environments, to be able to clone your production databases over, to be able to sanitize specific sets of data so that as we're cloning production data, we're not actually cloning production data. All of that is part of it. But yeah, absolutely. We want to be able to have really good shadow test, back test, A/B testing as part of your infrastructure and part of your deployment pipeline so that it's really easy for you to have confidence when you're deploying. I've used this word confidence a lot. That's a big theme, right? When I make a change to a rule, I want to know that when I push that to production, it's stable. And how do we do that? With really clear testing, with really clear warnings, with very clear validations, with stable deployments. All of that is part of it. And so, yeah, that's a big, big theme of ours for not just developer velocity, but also just deployment, maintainability, those sorts of things as well. Health and integrations, I'll talk about quickly. I did see your question, Jeremy. Good to see you again, by the way. But let me answer this health stuff, and then I'll jump back to your question. So yeah, health and ones that you see here, again, surfacing all of this to make sure it's really able for you to be ingested and interrogated and used. But getting your health and designers, Gen AI is really poorly worded there. Sorry, Gen capital AI flow creator. This is how that should say, and Gen AI rule creator. But being able to then take those integrations, those actually should be ripped out of the slide. I'm so sorry. This should be in the next slide. So spoiler alert, those are coming in the next slide. But being able to create flows and rules from generative AI, I think what that's actually is supposed to be talking about is the idea that we can use Dart to enhance your building practices, right? So as I'm working in a flow and I'm building out something and I can't find a step, the next iteration of Dart is to actually interact with your developer experience. So when I say, hey, I need to send an email step, instead of just giving me a list of places to go, it says, do you want me to add this to your flow? And you can say yes, and bloop, it shows up on your flow. Or do you want me to show you this in the toolbox? And bloop, it highlights over in the toolbox, right? But we're going to take Dart and give it the capability to interact with your screen in a meaningful way, right? Like, hey, I don't know where to find the SSO settings. Do you want me to take you there? Yes, click, bloop, and then it just takes you to the system settings. Or I don't know why I'm using the bloop sound. I need like a button to like actually make that happen. But right, like the Dart being able to interact with your canvas and interact with your developer experience is going to just improve the way that you're able to build and see recommendations and information. And then you'll see there going into integrations and stuff, right? Optimizing containers so that our footprint is a lot lighter so you can run more and more projects. Very important to us. And then, of course, being able to deploy those projects independently all comes as part of that. So question came in. Looks like Josh already answered it, but I'm going to address it to the greater audience. This is unifying the form and page designers. Would that then allow active form flows to be used on pages too? Yes, absolutely. That is the goal. One thing that we are limited on in pages that we hope to solve with this, there's really two things, is not being able to run data and not being able to do any sort of validation or visibility for pages. And so by combining that UI experience, yes, you can run an active form flow to source data to reports, right? So now you can have one data running collection flow that sources a page, and it can do all your filtering and logic and things you need to do without having to set that up per component. So performance is a massive benefit you gain from that. But also, yeah, visibility and validation you then can apply to pages, right? So as you're clicking through reports, we can apply validations or apply visibility. We can hide and show things. And then with Flexbox, we can resize those things appropriately so that becomes a more seamless experience for your end users. Yeah, I think it's a huge. The comment was that'll be so useful. I agree, and so taking these learnings that we've had from all these independent designers and really just building one that is, one designer to rule them all. Ooh, Kirsten, I just gave you like a theme, right? You need like a Lord of the Rings theme. But that's the goal, and we think it'll be of tremendous values, especially for any of you customers or partners that work a lot in forms or a lot in pages. This is a huge, huge win, and we target that throughout this year. You're going to see those releases. It's actually something I should have a slide for and should mention. So apologies, this is a little off the cuff. But one of the major philosophy changes we've had is you see this list here, and you may think, oh, I need to wait till February or March of next year to get deployment server environment manager. Or for the Unified Unit Designers, it's not going to come out until November Q4 this year. That's not true. A lot of these initiatives that we're undertaking are where we've switched philosophies to be more iterative type releases. Now, some of them do have to wait until we're done with all the work, but for the most part, like drag and dropping resize controls, we release now because you can use it now and you can get benefit out of it now. Why are we waiting to do all this other UI work until it's ready for you? The Flexbox, we're going to give you Flexbox in the next couple releases. It's not the full unified builder, but it's a big chunk of it. And so a lot of these things you're going to see iteratively released over time. And so you can start gaining and taking the value of them right away. So our goal as a product engineering team is faster releases with more consumable features. Which also should reduce, your stress or burden of trying to do major upgrades and then trying to consume a bunch of new features at once and then being scared to do the next upgrade. So you wait a year and you consume the next major feature, right? We want you to be confident in your ability to upgrade. And so that's part of that philosophy change as well. Cool. Where are we at time wise? Oh, we're great on time. Well, mostly. I'm almost done with presentation, I promise. So if you're saving your questions, start getting ready to ask those out here. There's a few more slides I want to talk about. One is geared specifically towards AI. And this is because it does have kind of its own roadmap tied to it with a lot of different like smaller features we're going to be releasing as it pertains to AI. AI as I'm very opinionated on, so we can schedule a separate non-recorded like debate call. But the idea is that like AI, hit its huge peak. Everyone invested billions of dollars into it, and now it's starting to kind of the wave has crested, and everyone's starting to kind of come off the AI wave. But what we've learned from that, while we kind of waited intentionally, very deliberately waited to see where is AI actually beneficial in our like for our developers and customers and platform. What do we actually need to do with AI to help people? And the first is you've already seen a lot through the way that we can just help our developers, right? Generate unit tests very quickly, generate a project description, show me where these steps are, add this to my canvas, right? Like all of that is part of just helping developers. We're going to use AI for a lot. Give me recommendations for the best way I can build this flow. That's number one. But number two is we want to be one of the best integrators to AI systems for your processes, right? And that's what this slide's trying to convey is that we want to be the hub where you can very quickly integrate to an AI vendor because that landscape's still pretty dynamic and changing, and have confidence that you can quickly make changes, deploy those, see the benefit of it, and have in your process generative AI integrations very quickly. And so the first initial part of this is we've updated the way that you can create prompts, AI prompts and decisions, and dynamically choose both the vendors and models from the prompt itself, right? So you can just say, hey, I need this prompt as part of my process. Here's the prompt that I'm going to give AI, but today I'm going to run it on V4, and tomorrow when they release V5, I'm going to switch the model, and now everything's running on the next version of ChatGPT, right? So prompt management already out. It's out there, I believe. Maybe Josh can correct me. Maybe it's next release, but it's coming soon. Prompt management stuff is all out there and ready to go. Then we're going to rebuild that dashboard to give you even better prompt testing. So being able to compare prompts very quickly with historical data and seeing how prompts were run, changing the temperature and seeing what the new result would be. Now you can use decisions to test all of your prompts and responses with your actual workflows rather than trying to do that in two systems. And then we're going to pit those in a battleground against each other where we can say, great, how does, Claude compare versus, the latest GPT model? And you can run all your historical data, boom, side by side and see the comparative differences, right? So now we can be a vendor analysis for your AI models. And you can say, hey, which AI model should I use in my process? Well, let's take your flow and plug it in here and run them side by side and see which ones, which will come with a cost comparison. So I can say, well, if you move to Claude 4.0, given your production insight load, we're going to cost, $82 a month or whatever it may be. But with, ChatGPT, you're going to be at 42. And maybe that's significant, maybe it's not. But again, the idea here is that being able to control all of your AI integrations and the way that you create those prompts and test them and pit them against vendors and look at the historical data, we're going to centralize and put in decisions easy for you to use and see. And then down at the bottom, this is where we're going to start integrating more AI stuff for us, like for us as a tool, right? Being able to create a description of a process from AI. Super easy. We can do that. Being able to give you more powerful suggestions in your processes, being able to generate workflow for rule formulas that you can run mathematical operations against. Any finance customers here like cheer, right? We can use AI to help generate all of those financial formulas, right? All of that's coming. And at the very end of this, you'll see we're still moving towards targeting and believe as a goal where you can create processes via AI. And I'm still holding the stance strong for anyone I fought with in the past that it will not be like you type in a word and your flow is ready for production. But I've changed my stance that I do believe that we'll be able to generate fully functioning, robust flows and rules from AI at some point in the near future, within the next year, right? Being able to go through a wizard and define your data and define some other things via a chatbot, and then to have it kick off and create for you like a full case entity with all the triggers and states is actually something we're prototyping and works. Like we can get that to work fairly well today. We're just going to be embedding that more and more throughout the product. So I think it's super exciting. I know if anyone's attended my previous webinars, I was pretty pessimistic. I'm a lot more optimistic on AI now, so I'll actually chat about it. But that is coming. All right, last slide and then questions, I promise. So this one here, this is solutions. Yes, I mentioned as well that like we want to do a lot more things that give you tools out of the box, let you just plug and play. If you haven't checked out our solutions yet, please do. Marketplace.decisions.com. It's a website you can go to. You could see all of our pre-built apps. You could see apps that some of our partners have built and given out for free. But this idea that you can go just have a project that's documented, that's unit tests, like has unit tests tied to it, that's really ready to roll out of the box. We've been getting better and better and better at over the course of the past year. And so there's a ton out there already, but this is what we're looking at doing over the next year. We're pausing now. This is now currently happening, and our team is really heavily focused on kind of making sure all of our everything's migrated to version 9 and to the project infrastructure. But moving forward, we're going to be doing a whole Salesforce project. We're going to be doing things around how you can control all of your product ads, like with Google, right? We're going to be doing a whole CSV AI automation validator, right? Where you can give it a CSV and AI will learn how to validate it and then improve that process over time. We're working on a project management thing. We built in Decisions a whole project management tool that we're then going to bundle up as a project so you can consume and use as part of your stuff. We're doing a lot with higher education customers around grant approval and why can't I think of the word? Application. Wow, I'm really losing it. Like an application approval process, right? Something that you could take and say, hey, I need this capability, and then you could just configure all the rules and make some changes to it for your needs. But you'll see there's quite a bit the solution team's really heavily working on so that you can just download it, run it out of the box, configure it as you want, and be off to the races. And we're just going to continue to do that. We found a lot of success in this, and we're going to keep plugging along. Okay, I said 20 minutes. I'm down to 12. That's not bad for me, given my rambling nature. But oh no, I lost the presentation. That was fast. Anyway, I guess I'm back in Decisions. That works fine. Yeah, that's kind of our roadmap. That's some big picture stuff. Like I said, we're going to continue to work on these presentations too. I'd like to give a lot more hands-on demo of like future features and stuff. So if you have any feedback of things that would you would love to see, like, hey, I'd love to see early prototypes of deployment server. Great. I'm more than happy to start pulling those up on these calls and sharing them. Or hey, it'd really be more helpful if we spent more time on the recent releases and look at demos for those things. Awesome. Let me know. I would love any feedback here, but I'm going to pause for just a moment, see if my colleagues want to chime in with anything they're excited about, or if there's any questions that come up in the webinar or in the chat or the Q&A. And if not, I will dawdle for like another minute or so. We can wrap this bad boy up. Let's see, anything else really cool we could share? What can we do? The new integration page, is that in here? Is the new integration page here, Kirsten? That might be really cool to share. Oh, I don't think it's here yet. Oh, it is here. Yeah, that's not the new one. All right, well, that's coming. Teaser, more fun features coming in the future. Yeah, if you haven't checked out projects, I'll just say again, like a lot of what you get in projects, being able to have really clear management and control over like groups of work is really, really powerful and really a huge improvement to what we've done in the past, right? Being able to have a really clear audit from like a project level versus what we've had in the past is massively improved. So please check out 9 if you haven't. Get on 9 if you're not. Reach out to support if you would like some help with that. But we're moving fast, and we've really, as a product team, you're going to start seeing a lot more stuff just get into your hands a lot faster, and that's I'm pretty pumped about it. So, all right, I've dilly-dallied enough. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. So thank you everyone very much for listening to this. Again, if you want to check this out, every other week we'll be here. A lot of the same stuff, but I'll be trying to present new things each time, or what someone else on the team will. And yeah, thanks. Hope you guys got some value out of it. Email us any questions, and we will catch you at the next one. So take care, everyone. I hope you have a good day.